Well, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and we all know what that means. That means once again, we get to review NWA Powerrr. As you know, we're getting closer and closer to hard times in Louisiana. We are so excited for that. But also, we got AEW Dark with about 10 matches taking place. But also, NXT, as you know, we're also building up all the way to Halloween Havoc. Lots of things are going to be taking place. However, before we do all of that, we're going to review two recent events from two different promotions. The first one, as you know, Stardom has come out of their 2 month tournament, 5-star Grand Prix, which we already crowned a winner, and that is Julia. But what is going to happen between here and now? Of course, we have the November 3rd event taking place, but also we got ICW No Holds Barred Volume 33 in LA. So it appears a lot of things are going to be taking place in that. And of course, we cannot forget some news updates on what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So today is, of course, is October, I believe, October 11th. As you know, I mentioned Stardom. We just come out of their 2 month tournament, which is, of course, the 5-star Grand Prix. But the here question is, where do we go next? What storylines would be built? As you know, we already have crowned a winner for the 5-star Grand Prix. So, how do we start from there? Well, this time their first show after the 5-star Grand Prix, and also to make indications, as you guys know, Unagi Sayaka will be taking some time off away from Stardom. But we're gonna proceed forward. So we opened up with Ruka versus Ami Sourei. Now this is more of a powerhouse type match. Now you've seen Ruka. She is a strong, big girl. You know, she knows what she's doing. But not to mention she's owed a time. You know, she probably would use weapons to cheat. But Ami Sourei, she's a much stronger individual who also is a powerhouse. And she was able to defeat Ruka by applying the Argentine backbreaker. And bam! She quit right there. So basically, Ruka tap out with no without anything to do. She basically cannot escape. Now our next match we have DDM's Micah and Himiko. Micah and Himika, also known as My Him, they actually will be taking on against star members Saya Ida and Koguma. Now keep in mind, as you know, Koguma likes to play the little bear dance to everybody, and it kind of worked, but it did not. But however, this match was a true testament in this particular match. As you know, Micah and Himika are right now are involved in the Goddess Tag League. I think this is now a perfect way for them to sharpen their tag team skills, since they're going to be in the tournament for the Goddess Tag League. But it was Micah who picked up the win onto Ida with the Inca Otoshi. So basically, that was her win, and it was over right from there. Next up, we got Cosmic Angels, consistent of Waka, Mina Shirakawa, Natsupoi, and Tam Nakano. Um, they face off against Queen's Quest, Lady C, Utami Ayashida, Azumi, and Saya Kamitani. Now, keep in mind, there's two things important about this match. Two. One, as you know, Mina Shirakawa has issued a challenge against Saya Kamitani for the white belt on November 3rd. And two, this is the official outpost for Queen's Quest, but before the following day, where they will be most consistently Saya Kamitani, Azumi, and Utami will challenge for the artist belts against Oda Tai. But this match was very interesting, and as you know, Unagi right now is taking some time off. I haven't followed up yet more on Unagi, but I will be getting that as soon as possible. I really want to do this. Now, anyway, the match was okay, but however, I have to say Waka really took everything to the limit in order to avoid not being submitted by Azumi. She had to be more careful not to fall into the numero uno submission, which apparently it did until Waka had no other choice but to tap out. So it was probably for the best. Now our next match, we have of course DDM consistent of Mai Sakurai and Julia versus God's Eye, Mirai, and Suri. Now keep in mind, Julia has her sights set on the red belt on the 29th of December. However, there's also factors in this match. Mai Sakurai is determined to surpass Mirai, try to prove she is much stronger than her. As you know, Mirai has been one of the most strongest individuals, very technical sound. I think that is something I don't know if Sakurai can actually handle. But it was, of course, the mere mare that sealed the deal for Mirai to win the match to God's Eye. So basically, Mai Sakurai was still not strong enough. I always do believe that there is no way Sakurai is ever going to beat Mirai unless she's good in technique as a submission specialist like she does. Now our main event, we have Oda Tai consistent of Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe taking on Stars, Momo Kogo, Azuki, and of course Miyu Yamashita. Now, this particular match, as you know, Oda Tai has been one of the most well defensed of the artist belts. But however, this is also the Outpost show before the following day when they faced Queen's Quest. But it was, of course, Momo Watanabe who picked up the win on Momo Kogo with the Peach Sunrise, sending a direct message to Queen's Quest that they will make sure they win this match the following day. So that's pretty much it. What took place on Stardom in Toyama. Hopefully, I get to see more of it. There were 3 shows in the single weekend. Hopefully, those will come out and I'll review those. But right now, let's move on with ICW No Holds Barred. Okay, our next match we have um, ICW No Holds Bars Volume 33 in LA. Now, this one took place on the 9th of October. Um, it opened up with Akira versus Drux. I thought this match was nuts. Um, Akira had to wear an eye patch. His eye was not fully healed, but he did it anyway. But it was him with a some sort of a angle slam type on some light tubes that allowed him to win the match against Drux. I'm a big fan of Akira. I have to say, he is awesome to watch. Next match, we got Brandon Kirk versus Jay Chris. Jay Chris, as you know, he's been involved in death matches, but Brandon Kirk rarely wins his matches. But in this particular case, it was Jay Chris who won the match by applying the lights out, giving him the win. Now, our next match, we have Bobby Beverly versus Tommy Vendetta. And this was a very interesting matchup. But however, right down in ringside, we saw Atticus Cogan there. Now, Danny DeMonto invited him because he's pissed off with him for some reason. Now, we'll get to that in a little bit. But the match was pretty well. But it was, of course, the Psycho Suplex that allowed Bobby Beverly to win the match against Tommy Vendetta. Now, our next match we have is a 4-way death match. We have Casanova Valentine, Danny DeMonto, the founder, Sadika, and Cruel. Now, Cruel, he's the much bigger threat out of all 4 competitors because he's big, he's strong. I mean, everybody else is nuts, but this guy's a much bigger threat. But it was him who picked up the win when he pinned Danny DeMonto. But in the post-match, Atticus Cogar was pissed off with DeMonto because Recently in the past, there was supposed to be a match between both Atticus Cogar and Demonto. Now, Atticus Cogar has had enough of Danny Demonto making all of this all about him. So basically, he said that on October 29th, he wants this match to be between those two. But, however, Messiah, a legendary wrestler who's been involved in death matches, I don't know who he is. Looks like he came out trying to make things smooth away from Atticus Cogar, which it worked. So we'll see what happens then. Now our next match is a shopping cart death match. We have Eric Ryan, aka the King, taking on Homeless Jimmy. They had to use the damn shopping cart at any way possible. I'm like, God damn. It was a weapon like you wouldn't believe in this one. I was like, wow, nuts. But it was a brain buster that sealed the deal for Homeless Jimmy. And I thought, what an incredible way to end it. So he did pick up a good win. Now our main event is the ICW American Deathmatch title between Oren Vert versus Casey Kurt. I have to say, Casey Kurt really stepped up to the plate against a guy who's been involved in death matches. I thought it was nuts. So, but she was able to find plunder underneath the table to ensure it can get more violent. Some people say she must be out of her goddamn mind. Well, she is, but that's the whole point. If you're the champion, you gotta go take it to another steps. But it did showed she did win, and she applied a psycho driver on the chairs into Orin Vitt to retain the title. So I have to say I love how she won the match. Hopefully she continues to impress everybody by retaining this match. The title. I can't wait to see what else is gonna happen. So I think that's pretty much it with ICW. Let's move on with NWA. Okay, NWA Powerrr. Opened up with women's tag team action. We have the Hex, Marty Bell, and Allison Kay taking on the very, how do I say, let's see what they do. Taryn Terrell and Natalia Markova. Now, as you probably know, the X factor with that was the fact Taryn Terrell is always about her. Basically, likes to take the spotlight. Natalia Markova has the same kind of mentality, but the only difference is she knows how to do that. But how would this work? It was, of course, the teamwork between both the Hex, which is, how do I say, very more X factor into this match. Knowing that, as you know, Marty Bell and Allison Kay, they know each other, they are friends, but they have always been a strong, cohesive unit. But it was, of course, Allison Kay who picked up the win by pinning Taryn Terrell, giving the Hex the win. Now, in recent times, we have seen interviews. Now, the first interview we saw was by Kyle Davis, Homicide. As you know, we have been witnessing Homicide with a kind of a different attitude. As you know, he will do anything in his power to retain the junior heavyweight title in his possession. But he did say nothing has changed. He's still the same Homicide. But however, I went back to my old school ways, which would make more sense. You know, if he went back to his old ways, then that's who he definitely is. Now, our second interview was coming from Mae Valentine, and a lot of questions are being asked about Question Mark 2, the brother of the late Question Mark. So basically, he's saying he's here to bring honor to Markovia and to his family. But of course, the only thing that is still eluded is the fact, is he here legally by visa? You know, that's the thing. We don't know much if he's trying to avoid that question because, as you know, recent times, Aaron Stevens has been causing nothing but problems. But he, Question Mark 2 did set up into himself into the mass following moment against Casey Rocks, who is being managed by Aaron Stevens. I don't think Aaron Stevens did a damn thing about the match. It kind of went in that sideways, but it was, of course, the Mongolian spike that allowed for Question Mark 2 to win the match. So the real question is, where the story's going to go? Is Aaron Stevens trying to prove a point, or will Question Mark will get his hands on Aaron Stevens for dishonoring his family? That's one of those things we definitely got to wait and see what's going to take place. Now, we do get another interview, but this time with Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona. Now, the obvious question is, how did Matt Cardona feel that Tyrus has been integrated into this match? he doesn't seem too concerned because he feels too confident that he will walk out as a two-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, keep in mind, there's three people, so you may never know how things would go. But of course, Chelsea Green, as you know, she's been trying to get an opportunity for the Burke, which is the title that Camille has, and I think that sets it all. So that puts it into a very perspective way. Now, our next match, we have the finals of the number one contendership for the NWA National Heavyweight Championship. We have Chris Adonis, Billy Cyrus, and Dak Draper. These are the competitors that have been involved in this little so-called qualifying matches. I have to say it was a good one. Like, some people would have assumed it would have been Billy Silas or Chris Adonis, but yeah, Billy Silas. But I did not anticipate Dak Draper to pull it off. I thought it was a pretty good match. It ended with him applying the Magnum KO on Billy Silas, winning. So he will be facing Zion for this title. And I'm going to assume this match is going to take place at Hard Times next month. So can't wait to see it. Now for our main event, this is another number one contendership, but this time it's for the NWA Women's World Championship. And we have Kylan King and Taya Valkyrie. Now, the only reason Kylan King has been integrated into this match was because Bully Ray asked for this, due to the fact, if you've been following, Kylan King and both Camille were students of Bully Ray. And I'm sure this doesn't, of course, like Matt Cardona, since he believes he has more pull on this. But apparently it did. I thought it was a pretty good match. It was very amazing because these are two women that want this match. They want to face Camille. And Kylan King is one of those that we know she has what it takes, hopefully, to be the one to dethrone Camille. And I think that sets it all. But I have to say it was, of course, the Skylar Buster that allowed Kylan King to win the match, and she becomes the new number one contender, and she will face Camille at Hard Time. So I thought it was a good match. I loved it. So I think that's pretty much it with NWA Powerrr. I believe it's time for AEW Dark. Alrighty, AEW Dark opened up with Lance Archer. Now, I don't need to tell you how this. His opponent is Alec Odin. Don't know anything about him. But you can guess this match ended with a blackout right away because, as he's always saying, everybody dies. So there's no point to say what else. Next match, we have an interesting women's trios match. We have Penelope Ford, Serena Deeb, and Jamie Hayter, who's been getting more of the bigger reception, taking on Jordan Blade, Trish Adora, and Brittany Blake. Now, probably we would have liked to see Jamie Hayter win be the one that picked up the win. No, it was Serena Deeb with the Serenity Lock onto Trish Adora that allowed her to win the match for her team. Our second match, we have Marina Shafir along with Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero taking on Hikaru Shida. Now, this is going to put Hikaru Shida to the test. I don't think she's ever faced anyone like Marina Shafir, but Hikaru Shida has been known not to ever back down from a fight. But the X factor is, excuse me, yeah, her and Nyla Rose. But to be honest with you, I was hoping that what's their name, Jamie Hayter and no, not Jamie. Jade was gonna come out looking for her belt, but nope, it did not go exactly like that. But it was a pretty good match. I have to say that Hikaru Shida has shown that she's not afraid, that she knows what kind of person Marina Shafir, but it was the katana that allowed her to win the match. I thought it was a very solid match, showing that she's now, because as you know, Hikaru Shida her mind is focused on Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter after what happened the last time attacking her in the locker room. So basically, this is a good warm-up for Hikaru Shida for that. Next up, we got Brian Cage versus Papa Don. I can tell you that this match ended with the drill claw right on the spot, for Brian Cage. Now, you guys know who Zach Clayton is. He put out this little video package saying that he signed a contract or something like that he's with AEW. I don't know if it means that he's all elite or he's just doing it like for how to say appearances, all of that. So he's sending a clear notice to the AEW locker room that he's the reality, that sort of thing. So that sort of thing. I don't know. Now our next match, women's action, we have Athena versus Gia Scott. Now I can tell you this one ended with, I don't know what she calls it now in AEW, but we know it as in WWE the Eclipse. Great moment to end it that way. So love Athena's Eclipse all the time. Next match, we have QT Marshall versus Action Andrade. Now, we've seen him on AEW Dark Elevation. However, did not start out right at the bit. It appears that, once again, QT is out looking for talent that believes that they need people like him for guidance. So, basically, I don't think Action has any interest. But QT did send the entire factory to take a hike and go to the back, which they did, but QT, as always, won by applying the Diamond Cutter as a way to prove a point. So, yeah, that's how it ended. Our next match, we have, of course, Dalton Castle and the boys taking on Joe Keys, Josh Fuller, and BK Klein. Now, this always ends with the boys being tossed, and, of course, the batarang by, of course, Dalton Castle, and I thought it was a really fun match. Our next match, we have Kip Sabian taking on Brandon Cutler. Now, you probably would have assumed Brandon would have won this match, but no, somehow Kip Sabian has, who's back with a vengeance. He's out, on the loose, and that kind of goes out in his way, so he picked up the win by pinning Brandon Cutler. Now, our next match we have in an eliminator match for the AEW interim women's title. We have Emi Sakura versus Toni Storm. Now, key thing is, if Emi Sakura wins this match, she gets an opportunity for AEW interim women's title. But I have to say, it was a really good match. But it was the Storm Zero that allowed her to ensure that Emi Sakura does not get a title shot. So I thought it was a good match. Now, our main event, we have the Factory, Cole Carter, Aaron So along with Nick Comoroto versus Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. Now, the X Factor is Nick Comoroto. What's his little, I don't know what the hell he's dressed up like. He acts like he thinks he's some sort of pimp or something. But anyway, his pimpy ways did not work out. He got caught with the cookie jar and was sent back into the back. But it did give enough time for Sydal and Dante to pick up the win with the nosedive onto Aaron Solo, and it gave Dante Martin and Matt Sydal the chance to win. So basically, the X Factor was taken out real soon. So that's pretty much it with the AEW Dark. I believe our final review we got is NXT. NXT opened up with Braun Breaker taking on Javi Bernard. Now, Javi Bernard, he talks too much. He thinks he's full of himself. That's what got him into this match in the first place. But it was, of course, his little finisher. I forgot what he calls it to end the deal. But however, we saw JD McDonough watching right there in the sidelines. He wants, what he wants. He's a very, very creepy individual. But however, when Ilya Dragunov shows up, it appears that their feud between JD McDonough and, of course, Dragunov never ends, as Konami from, formerly from Stardom, would say. But in the midst of this, it turned into a brawl, but Dragunov accidentally hit Braun Breaker, but this will not let that stand. Even though later on it showed Ilya Dragunov a bit worried, he did not want this to happen like that. He was willing to fight him the right way, but as you know, the attitude with JD McDonough is always a problem. But he gets some action later on against that cocky SOB, the Australian mouth loud Grayson Waller. Now, As you know, we got our final match of the best of three series, and this would grant it a spot at the ladder match for the North American title. We have Nathan Frazier and Axel. As you know, one has the other. Axel has one win, Frazier won. This is the conclusion, and all that. I have to say, they put up a good story. Basically, who is the one who wants to win it more to make a statement. I think this is one of the most amazing matches between them because, excuse me, I think it showed a lot of character between both of these guys. But it was Frazier with a somewhat of a hurricanrana that allowed him to win the match, and I think this shows this guy earns his position to be part of that ladder match, and I think it was great. Now, as you know, in the storyline, we have seen Valentina Feroz, who's on her own. Basically, as you know, Yulisa Leon was gone due to the injury. However, Valentina Feroz feels like she needs Sanga's guidance, but Indy Hartwell shows up to cause a little bit of a stir. But they did have their match, which happened. So Sanga was at the corner of Valentina Feroz. Now, things may not have been looking out for her, but out of the blue, we see Ver make his appearance. We don't know what's the deal with Ver or what's going on, but many fans speculate we could see those two reunite again. But first things first, what happened is Ver whispered something in his ear. I don't know if it was like a concern, but Sanga decided to leave Valentina Feroz. I was like, whoa, that's kind of messed up. I wouldn't be surprised if Valentina Feroz confronts Sanga and Ver about what the hell was this all about. So that's what I would think would happen. But unfortunately, the spine buster by Indy Hartwell was just too much for Valentina that allowed Indy to win the match. Now, as you know, recently we saw Pretty Deadly. They believe that they are going to remain tag team champions forever. But however, we see three teams that want to have a shot. We have Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. We got Josh Briggs and what's his name? Oh, yeah, and Brooks Jensen. And then finally the dyad Jagger Reed and Rip Fowler. So these three teams will have to face each other, but Pretty Deadly are hoping that they just kill each other and they don't have to face them. But one thing led to another. I have to say it was a pretty good tag match. I saw some new things with Josh Briggs. I thought he showed a pretty good technique. But however, you got to remember the dyad consisted of members of the Schism. We saw Cameron Grimes there trying to ensure that things will go in his favor. But out of the blue, Cameron Grimes, to the moon, shows up, give Malik Blade and Enofe the opportunity to win the match, allowing for, I think, Enofe Idris Enofe to pick up the win on to Jagger Reed, and I thought it was great. However, later on it showed that Schism are not too pleased with this whole thing. They could have lost this match, but they did challenge Cameron Grimes in a 6-man tag match. But as for Pretty Deadly, how do they think about this? They seem a little worried because recent times we have seen Malik Blade and Idris Enofe making headways in the tag team division, proving that they earned their spots. They have earned it time and time again. Should Pretty Deadly be worried? Yes, that's what I think it should happen. Now, we got some interviews I want to talk about that's really interesting. Now, the first ones we have, of course, is Cora Jade. Now, as you know, before we go to Halloween Havoc, there's this thing called Pick Your Poison. Each of the competitors will pick a wrestler that will be challenged. Now, Cora Jade thinks she doesn't have any friends. She hasn't. But, however, Mackenzie informed her that her DMs on her Twitter page kind of were blowing up. But she did inform Cora Jade that she will be in SmackDown this coming Friday. Cora's like, what? So she got worried, but the question is, but the obvious thing is, how in the world does she get some pull to get over there? That's the thing that kind of put her in a bad position. But she did ask Mackenzie that, of course, if she knows Ronda Rousey's number. She said no, but later she's like, I do know her number. So basically, she's like, I'm not going to give you squat. But she does come back saying that she managed to get if Cora was going to go to SmackDown, she's going to go to Raw. So that kind of tells a story. Now we do see a little segment going on with Kiana James. As you guys know, Kiana James has been proving that she's a lot smarter, but it looks like she is trying to make headways to, of course, acquire a piece of property land from Chase University. Now it's still unclear what's going on. I don't know if Andre Chase is completely aware of it, but we'll see what happens then. Now our next interview, as you know, Toxic Attraction are still like in disbelief of what just happened last week. As you know, Mandy Rose was kidnapped by what's her name? By Alba Fire, but we all know where she was. We all know what's going on behind the scenes with Mandy, so we need to respect that as well. But they did pointed out that they got something up their sleeve. We just don't know what it was until we see that match. Now our next match we have is our next match. We have Alba Fire and JC Jane. I thought this match was going to go in favor of JC Jane because Gigi Dolan was right there, but it was, of course, the gory bomb that finished off JC Jane into the match. However, at the moment that, of course, Alba Fire was leaving, apparently she was attacked by some hooded figure, and it turned out to be Sonya Deville. We did not anticipate her arrival, but it seems this could have been the ace of the sleeves by JC Jane and Gigi Dolan. So the obvious question is, what in the world is going on here? But they managed to take out Alba Fire by pirate bombing her through a table, sending a direct message. But the obvious question is, why did she came back? So basically in her interview, she said, look, Mandy Rose and I may have our differences, but she's still my best friend. So basically she's looking out for the interest. But she did stated that next week she wants to deal with Alba Fire to ensure she does not make it all the way to Halloween Havoc. Now our next match we have Wesley versus Lorenzo Stacks Channing. Now Wesley, as you know, won his position to be part of the ladder match for the North American title, but apparently the match ended by referee's decision due to an injury that took place in the match with Tony D'Angelo. Now Stacks accuses Wesley in thinking that he did that intentionally, that he put him out like that. But Wesley said that he did not want to win this, so he had to put it, had to prove it this time by facing against Stacks, which it was a good match, but however, Stacks did not do his job right, allowing for, of course, Wesley to pick up the win. But as soon as we thought everything's out, Mello and Trick Williams shows up and beats up. You see, they don't want Wesley to go down there. However, Otto Mensah shows up, even the odds. As you know, he's another guy that Mello should be taking concerns, but this time he has to. But the one thing I know for sure, Mello will not want Wesley to be involved. He feels he could never live up to that hype. But this time, he has to prove that at Halloween Havoc. Now, we do see our little match between Kiana James and Heather Thea Hale. However, this wasn't a match. This was more of a stupidness by Robert Stone. If you guys remember last week, Robert Stone got scooped up and power slammed onto the dang floor thanks to Thea Hale. Stone was unhappy that Thea Hale actually did that to him, and she goes, so telling him, so what? However, she kicked his ass, but because the bell rung, it cost Thea Hale the match because Kiana James calculated very well. But like I said earlier, it looks like the Kiana James has something in store for Chase U. We don't know what Andre Chase, if he knows it or not. So we'll see what happens next week. But however, because of this situation with Thea Hale, Wagner is not pleased what Stone did. So Stone feels that people are making fun of him. He feels like he needs to stand his ground and tell people to shut up, but no one's going to care. Now, our main event is Ilya Dragunov versus Grayson Waller. Now, you know Grayson Waller is someone you don't want to mess with, someone who needs to shut the hell up. And that's exactly what Dragunov is tending to do. But however, he disrespected Booker T once. As you know, he is the kind of guy who says, "Hey, Booker, get the hell out of here. You're irrelevant." That's the kind of guy he needs. Everybody knows it. He doesn't has no respect for anybody but himself. But it was, of course, the Moscow Torpedo that finished off Waller, thinking Ilya Dragunov. But however, post match, what comes around, what comes around gets around. Of course, Braun Breaker speared Dragunov as payback for what happened earlier. But you know who's enjoying it? JD McDonough. He's right there, right behind him, like with that little evilish look, like seeing what he liked. However, this is one of those matches where anything could happen between them at Halloween Havoc. So we got to pay attention to that when we get there. So I think that's pretty much it with NXT. I believe our final thing is news updates. Okay. If you guys are not fans of GLEAT, you better watch them. It's free to watch on YouTube. It's GLEAT, all capital letters, GLEAT. They just announced on their Twitter page of upcoming events, and they're all part of the G Pro Wrestling events. Here's what we have for the upcoming events. Their version 36 will take place on Saturday, the 22nd of October, and of course, a week later we have on a Sunday, on the 30th, version 37, and on the November 19th, version 38 of it's a Saturday. Then of course version 39 taking place on the 23rd of November, which is a Wednesday, and then finally version 40 on the 27th of November. So this is what's taking place. Upcoming events. They're all free on YouTube. Now, some events will be broadcast right away, will be streamed right away. Others will be taped and later streamed in a few days later. So keep an eye on that. Now, as you guys remember, we do have the upcoming IWGP World Television title. It's still unclear. I'm still doing research on every information I can get. However, I did get information on who will be participating. So it appears that this will begin on the 16th of and the 27th, certain days of this month with the tournament. So here's who we have. We have David Finlay, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Alex Zane, Zack Sabre Jr., Yoshihashi, Jeff Cobb, Aaron Hanare, Evil, Taichi, Hiroki Goto, Kenta, Ren Narita, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Great Khan. So this is how it's gonna be. However, the two matches will take place on the 14th of this month. We have Kanemaru and Finlay. That'll be one match, and then also on that very same day, we have Zayn versus Zack Sabre Jr. On the 15th, we have Cobb and Yoshihashi. Same thing on that very day. Aaron Henare versus Evil. Then the following day, we have Taichi versus Sonata, which is going to be good. And also on that very same day, we have Kenta versus Hiroki Goto. Then 10 days later, we have the final two matches. We have Tomohiro versus Ren Narita. And then finally, Great Khan versus Toru Yano. That's going to be a funny match. So that's what's going to take place. So this starts on the 14th, and this is going to end on the 4th of January, all the way to Wrestle Kingdom 17, which I'm sure is going to be good to watch. Now, if you guys remember recently, I actually reviewed of the GCW events called Settlement Series. Basically, we had some great stuff. So basically, they set up a little schedule on this one. Most of the events will take place during at the Williamstown, New Jersey. But here's what they're gonna have. Part 4 will take place on October 11th, which is a Tuesday. Then later, part 5 on a Tuesday, the same day, Tuesday on October 25th. Then part 6, Tuesday, November 8th. Part 7, Saturday, November 19th. And then finally, the series finale will take place on December 6th. So if you're fans of if you guys love the Settlement Series, that's where you're going to be. It's also on their Twitter page. They have that schedule set up. So take a look at it. Now, as you know, we're getting close to the end of the year with Wrestling Revolver. They are already booking their next 2 events. November, they announced uh, their upcoming event, Smoke 'em High Got 'em, is going to take place on the 12th of November in Daytona, Ohio. It's going to be one heck of an event, and we'll see what happens. Now, the good news, everybody, if you guys are big fans of MLW, Major League Wrestling, they announced for a partnership with Pro Wrestling TV. Now, I never heard of this thing, but it's an app you can download. It's if you guys have Samsung like myself, you can actually download the app. It's free actually to sign up, from my understanding. But I don't know what wrestling events promotions will be broadcasting their shows from. But yeah, that's what I've been hearing. So you can actually get it for free. That's what I'm saying. So it's called Pro Wrestling TV. If you have it, if you have it on your Apple phone, yes. The LG, Amazon, Android phones, Android TV, anything you can find. So all this information you can find it on Twitter. They actually, even MLW kind of put it in that way on their Twitter page to talk about it. So I'm kind of excited for them that they're finally gonna put things, because I don't know if people are sick and tired of watching their shows on YouTube. That's the thing that I don't know. But we'll see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much it right now with all of this. I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, it's Wednesday. We got AEW Dynamite debuting at Toronto, Canada, their very first time being in Canada. There's going to be a lot of good stuff taking place. Now, I haven't decided what else I'm going to be reviewing. I know I haven't reviewed the Fight Club Days of GCW. That is still I'm still trying to get my hands on, but I will be getting to that. But for now, I'm just going to say I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.